Hello then, thank you for staying with us right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. My name is Esther Wachuku, and here are the top stories. Many feared dead in another terrible accident in Ankara Bridge in Abuja. In a very recent development, many killed as new terrorist group emerges in the north. Meanwhile, military discloses that its command is being reshuffled as attacks escalate in Plateau, Borno State. Not threatens to strike over 50 billion naira on paid allowances. In a very recent development as well, Nyesom Wike discloses why he refused to back Peter Obi in 2023's general elections. In a very recent development, however, Wike also discloses Fubara to be removed. Nigerians should kiss the president's feet on a daily basis. Also, President Tinubu sends Easter message to Nigerians from Europe. And very recently, on stories outside the shores of Nigeria, Houthi rebels say 74 people killed in U.S. airstrikes in Yemen oil port. Details now. Thank you for staying with us. The world news begins with several persons losing their lives in another terrible accident that occurred on Kara Bridge in Withdrew site, Abuja today. A witness who disclosed what happened and what caused the tragic accident stated that it was caused by a truck laden with cement which filled its brakes while descending the Kubo Hill. VOP News gathered that the truck, after crushing about several vehicles and their occupants attempting to escape, but was intercepted around Kara roundabout by commercial motorcyclists. The accident came barely a month after a similar fatal accident occurred on the same Kara bridge in March, when a Dangote trailer powered by CNG lost its brakes, crashed into several vehicles, and claimed multiple lives. Now, a new militant group known as Mamuda has reportedly taken control of rural communities in north-central Nigeria, terrorizing residents around the Kainji Lake National Park, which spans parts of Kwara and Niger states. Sources disclose that the group now operate freely in communities within Kayama local government area, such as Kaimanji, Tinubu, Babete, Nuku, and Nanu, as well as in villages in Yashikira district, Barutan local government area, Kwara state. In Niger state, their presence has been felt in Babana and Wawa districts in Burugu local government area. Just on Wednesday, the militants reportedly attacked a vigilante group in Kemanji, killing over 15 members and villagers. The emergence of Mamuda adds to Niger's growing list of non-state armed groups occupying ungoverned spaces. Locals say the group has exploited the unprotected expanse of Kainji Lake National Park, previously a haven for loggers, fishermen, and hunters. After early clashes with loggers and vigilantes, the militants allegedly reached an agreement with the loggers, who now harvest forest resources in exchange for life passage and levies, one of several revenue streams sustaining the group. Residents say the Mamuda group first emerged visibly over 5 years ago after the stormed KLNP and displaced rangers. They reportedly migrated from Mokwa local government area after being evicted by former Niger State Governor Muazu Babangida Aliyu, who accused them of being linked to Boko Haram. From there, they moved to Walele in Kayama local government, where again forced out by security forces, and eventually reappeared more armed and organized within the park. While some locals suspect the group has ties to militant cells from the Benin or Niger Republic, others believe they are a breakaway faction of Boko Haram. A recent audio tape obtained by community members suggests the group identifies as moderate Islamist, fighting for a Sunni cause and referring to themselves as the Mahmuda or Malam group, named after their leader. In a very recent development, in response to renewed attacks across Plateau, Borno, Benue, and other states, the Nigerian military has begun implementing tactical changes in its operations. The reorganization, which started with the Nigerian Army on Monday, is expected to extend to the Nigerian Air Force and Nigerian Navy in the coming days. Top military officers have already been redeployed in a bid to reinforce ongoing operations. Among the senior officers affected are the theater commander of Operation Hardin Kai in Borno State and the commandant of the Nigerian Defense Academy in Kaduna. Major General A.E. Abubakar has been appointed as a new theater commander of OPHK, while Major General A.K. Ibrahim has been named the new commandant of the NDA. Sources within the military disclose that the redeployed commanders are expected to assume duty after the Easter celebrations. Major General Shaibu Wabidi, the outgoing theater commander, had only taken over the role on January 30, 2024, when Major General Go Chibuisi, his tenure focused on sustaining the fight against Boko Haram and ISWAP in the northeast. However, concerns over deteriorating security conditions have persisted. Borno State Governor Babagana Zulum last week warned that the state risked sliding back into chaos. The National Association of Academic Technologists has indicated the possibility of industrial action in response to the federal government's purported intention to allocate 50 billion naira in earned allowances to the Academic Staff Union of Universities. In a correspondence addressed to the Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Alausa, the union requested that the government suspend the disbursement of the 50 billion naira earned allowances until a meeting can be convened with the leadership of the four university-based unions and the minister to establish fair and equitable distribution methods. NAT cautioned that any deviation from this approach could jeopardize industrial harmony on university campuses. In a statement released in Abuja following its National Executive Council meeting, which its president, Comrade Ibeji Nwokoma, signed, the association highlighted a remark made by the Minister of Education regarding the 50 billion naira included in the 2025 budget proposal, which he stated was intended for the payment of earned academic allowances. According to the university system, earned academic allowances are designated for teaching staff represented by ASU, while earned allowances pertain to non-teaching staff, which includes NAT, the Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities, SANU, and the Non-Academic Staff Union of Educational and Associated Institutions, NASU. Now moving on to political scenarios, the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, has revealed why he chose not to support Labour Party presidential candidate in the 2023 general elections. Speaking at a press briefing in Abuja today, Wike dismissed Obi's candidacy as lacking realistic prospects, describing him as a social media candidate. Wike, who served as a governor of Rivers State until 2023, said his political decisions were driven by analysis and viability, not online popularity. Let's take a brief listen to that particular statement he made during the media chat earlier today while he was having a parley with some select journalists of anchors on some national television stations.
Just look at your...
No, you have no chance to win the election.
Okay.
I don't go to where you see, people like this kind of social.
Just look at your...
No, you have no chance to win the election.
Okay.
I don't go to where you see, people like this kind of social media candidates. I don't do social media candidates. I see that as a politician.
You won this Abuja.
But he got 6 million votes.
I said, I see that as a politician. And I analyze the candidate who is likely to win. In politics, it's not always the right that, oh, this is the best candidate. No. You see, Nigerians today, their politics, so many factors coming. And I have always told people this. Whether it is correct or not, it's a different thing. Okay? Look at Tribune 1. Mind you, whether APC likes it or not, it was very, very turbulent for Tinubu to have scaled through that election. His own party administration, you could see, people don't want to speak the truth. Before that election, putting things that would have made him to fail the election woefully. The fuel crisis, the Naira issue, it was terrible. No party in government would at that time bring such policy when you know you are running an election. But everything was done and he survived it.
Honorable Minister.
He survived it. So that's how you will know that there are people, first of all, God is on their side. Two, they also know this game.
While the FCT minister used the opportunity to disclose that electoral success in Nigeria is influenced by numerous factors beyond qualifications or digital popularity, he, however, applauded President Tinubu for overcoming the obstacles placed by the same government under which he contested. Meanwhile, the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory has also claimed that the opposition People's Democratic Party is not ready for the 2027 presidency. Wike made this known during the media chat today. The former governor of Rivers State and now the FCT minister insists that he made the right decision to support President Bola Tinubu in 2023, stressing that the All Progressives Congress would not have won the election due to the performance of the immediate past President Muhammadu Buhari. Wike also stated that the former Vice President Atiku Abubakar does not keep his words, adding he would never rely on them. He also disclosed, however, that in 2023 he stood firm to support the PDP, but that the APC was down because the Buhari government was not doing well. A decision had to be taken on who to support, and looked at it, Atiku was not an option, so it was a no-go area. Atiku does not keep his words. I can tell you authoritatively what happened in 2019. Atiku, Saraki and seconders came to see me that I was going to nominate Attorney General and Minister of Petroleum. In a very recent development as well, the president has just disclosed his message to Nigerians. President Bola Tinubu, who is currently on a working visit to Europe, has sent Easter greetings to Nigerians. In a statement released by the State House and signed by the president on Good Friday, Tinubu reflected on the significance of Easter, describing it as a period for deep introspection and renewal. President Tinubu used the occasion to acknowledge recent killings and express sorrow over the loss of lives in parts of the country. He reaffirmed his administration's unwavering commitment to national security, stating that he had issued firm directives to the armed forces and all security agencies to act decisively. On the economy, the president acknowledged the hardships many Nigerians continue to face, but noted that signs of recovery are beginning to emerge. He pledged ongoing reforms aimed at stabilizing the economy, restoring investor confidence, and creating a more inclusive and prosperous Nigeria. President Tinubu also extended well wishes to Pope Francis, expressing gratitude for his recovery and continued leadership. He called on citizens to remain faithful, hopeful, and united, emphasizing that national progress is achievable through collective determination and shared values. You're currently listening to the World News right here on Voice of the People, 92.3 FM. We'll take a very short break. When we return, we'll head into a news analysis segment. We'll be joined via the telephone with Barrister Evans Ufeli. Barrister Evans Ufeli will be responding to some questions posed at him on some of the issues read out on the World News at 6. Do kindly stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. I'm now being joined via the telephone with Barrister Evans Ufeli. Barrister Evans, good evening and thank you for joining us today.
I can't hear you. This is higher for volume.
You can't hear me? Okay, I'm going to have to put you on speaker then. Obviously, it's a cord problem. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. Barrister Evans Ufeli, thank you for joining me today. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Happy Good Friday. Barrister Evans, let's start with this scenario. There is now a new terrorist group. Now, Nigerians are of the note that this terrorist group are not new. that possibly is an extension of the Lakurawa group. Now, is the brazen activities of this terror group to continue their heinous activities, causing mayhem, destabilizing communities and states, taking over people's farmlands, collecting ransoms? In some instances, Solomon Dalong said that when they caught one of these terrorists, he said that they were provided arms by their bosses who have connections with top military personnel. And it has become so bad that recently in Benue, in Plateau State, especially as well in Edo State, we've seen series of needless killings. Enugu State as well has been one state that has been experiencing a consistent attack by terrorist headsmen. Barrister Evan Sifeli, the president, through the special advisor on information and strategy, Bayo Nanuga, insisted that he will continue to control the country or administer remotely, meaning that he hasn't considered it a priority to return to the country as soon as possible. In the same breath, he said that he would consider security as his priority because of what is currently ongoing. How do you react to this?
Yeah, the groups are springing up. I mean, the Lakurawa and then the current one now. These groups have been set up by dissidents of Boko Haram group, the ones that have fell out with the Boko Haram leadership and the mainstream terrorist group across sub-Saharan Africa. Okay, and they are laying serious siege because they have seen that the government have been unable to dismantle and neutralize Boko Haram. And they have seen the kind of wealth Boko Haram has controlled over time. The ammunition, the wealth, the drugs, the raping, and all kinds of privileges they've had, including taking over territory. They've seen how that the Nigerian government have not been able to defeat them. So some of them who fell out from that group have started pockets of terrorism here and there. And that is why anywhere you see terrorism, it's better to exterminate them from the roots. The longer you allow them to fester, the more they will get emboldened, and the more the pockets of them will leave the mainstream and go and start up small streams with the same agenda, with the same philosophy, and with the same fundamentalism. So what you have now is a spread, okay? And the president appears not to be doing anything about it. This government in particular have not really given us any strategy on what they are doing about the extermination of that group. The National Security Advisor, Madam Robadu, we've not seen any positive, any very cogent steps that have been taken so far. The way they are killing the same method.
Go ahead.
The way they were killing under the Buhari regime is the same way they are killing and maiming and raping under this. You see, Benue State have been completely, taken down. Plateau State, we have that issue. We have in the southeast, we have in Enugu, we have in Edo State, and so many places. The same story. We're having more groups, we're having more attacks, unrestrained. People cannot even travel by road any longer because of the fear of you can be attacked by any of the groups or a subgroup or a likely group. So the security in Nigeria is one that really is dealing with the country in general.
All right, Barrister Evan Sifeli, the supporters of this administration believe that the upsurge or the spring up of consistent insecurity right now are being orchestrated by political bureaucrats, specifically from the northern region, who supposedly feel that they want to get the attention of the president. And a couple of them feel neglected. They feel that whatever verbal agreement they had during the campaign, that the president is not living up to it. Others also feel that due to the complaint of lopsided appointments and lack of proper representation from their region, that this is just a way to destabilize his administration, to defame him, just like what happened during the administration of former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. Do you think that's what it is? Or do you think that there is a lacuna in our security architecture?
Well, I think that even before this government emerged, they were attacking. After it emerged, they were still attacking, even before the appointment. So to restrict it to just because of the president's lopsided appointment, that's why they're attacking. For me, may not be a good argument. I think there's just a lapse in the security architecture of the state. Well, if you also say that maybe the attack is now frequent or much more intense because of the president's appointment, well, I don't know how that argument is, but it seems to me that because of the lack of fierce opposition against their numerous attacks and frequent attacks, they are emboldened already, and they know that they could take on any territory without strong resistance. They also know that largely the army has been weakened too, with frequent attacks, and frequent ambush and all that. So this may not be because of just the president's appointment. There are those who are clamoring for a change in the way the president is appointing only people from the southwest and all that, and one particular ethnic group. That argument is still there, hanging in the air, but I don't think it is what is directly increasing the frequency of the attack because it's been there even before this president came. So it is a breakdown of security issue. It's a complete breakdown of safety and the rest of that. So what Nigerians now have to do is to keep calling on the government to protect them, because this idea of government, DSS, a chairman the other day was saying that Nigerians should defend themselves, and some other persons have made the same statement. What it means is that they're actually saying that they have failed. They cannot protect themselves. But you can't tell citizens to defend themselves and collect tax from them. You can't tell citizens to defend themselves when you have not trained them to do so. Before the security architecture was handed over to the military, the security agencies, they were trained to combat. The Army for land, Air Force for air, the Navy for the waters, and then for civil society, the police, civil defense, for the presidency, the DSS, and
Barrister Evans Ufeli, don't you think that since the DSS boss is telling Nigerians to defend themselves, that the security agencies or the security personnel cannot be everywhere at the same time, that's a message that they could possibly be overwhelmed? For example, the Nigerian military and its complete security task team are stretched. They are focused in the northeast concerning Boko Haram. They're dealing with that. Most of their energy are channeled towards providing gadgets and whatever apparatus they can use to defeat these elements. So the Nigerian Air Force, the Nigerian military on ground, and even the Nigerian Navy, there's a coordinated effort to ensure that the insecurity in the north is quelled. And now you're now having a resurgence of insecurity by these same elements across every other region. So even if they are meant to conscript or deploy men to those regions, it may not be enough. You also have along the routes in the southeast heavy militarization. You see heavy police presence on the routes, and you see heavy military presence on the route. Still, these headsmen or these terrorists also continue their mayhem. So the question now is this. Analysts and security experts believe that the Nigerian security arm or the Nigerian security outfit is heavily porous, that there are some elements within them that supposedly allowing these things to happen deliberately. Some also believe that if the Nigerian military or the Nigerian Air Force or the Nigerian Navy or the Nigerian police intend for insecurity to end, they can do it because they're well equipped to do it. So which of this scenario do you think is at play? That we continue to experience this consistency in the bloodletting of a lot of innocent Nigerians in their homes?
Yeah, I understand that it's not, it's actually a faceless war, because it's more of a guerrilla war, it's a hit and run war. I know. It's not an outlandish war where you know where the enemy is coming from, or where you know exactly their strategy and all that. I understand that, but I'm saying all the same, the security agencies are trained for this purpose. Okay, and if they are trained for this purpose, there's no other institution or person or individual okay, that is fit to combat that crime on behalf of himself or his family. If you tell people to defend themselves, the natural proclivity of a man is self-defense. We know that. Sometimes you watch where you go to. You watch how you move around. That is part of it. And also you need to have certain level of equipment to defend yourself when the case arises. But that is just the primary step. When it comes to defense proper, it cannot be placed in the hand of an individual or a group of persons who are untrained. That's why you have trained people. So, whichever it is, the security agencies of the country will still be held responsible, whether the people defend themselves or not. Because no matter the defense the people put up, it's not enough to quell this kind of attack. So, the government needs a holistic strategy to bring this down. And you see, there is compromise here and there. I agree with security experts who said that there is compromise here and there. Even in the case of kidnapping, you see where people are kidnapping between two police checkpoints. Okay, in between two police checkpoints, people are kidnapped. So what does that tell you? Sometimes people are also kidnapped close to military installments and all that. And then what does that tell you? So the proof that possibly some persons compromise is quite glaring. It's quite glaring. Even if it's not outlandishly visible, something is wrong somewhere. It's very established that security analysts have pointed to that fact. And security have a pattern. Security and safety have a pattern. You know, this pattern where the security men are being deployed, there seems to be everywhere. Like you travel on the road, you move an inch, it's a checkpoint. You move an inch, it's a checkpoint. You move an inch, it's a checkpoint. And in the same situation, you still have killings going on. Someone must be doing something wrong. Someone must have surrendered to the enemy, even though they appear to be on the road or they appear to be walking. In between their walk, the evil and the attacks are still ongoing. So what it tells you is that either they have been overpowered or they have compromised. Anyone that comes first might be the case on that reference. So we cannot stop calling on government to do the right thing, because it's their responsibility to protect the citizens of the country. No matter the situation, it is their primary responsibility, constitutional responsibility, of the army is to warn of external aggression, of the police, internal aggression, and of any other institution. The objective is clear. So that is the demand of the Nigerian people, and that demand is so critical at times like this.
All right, Barrister Evans Ifeli. Okay, because of time constraints, let's move on to something that actually happened today, which I'm sure you know, because it has occupied most media spaces. Others believe that the stunts are deliberate, so that there'll be a distraction on the recent unfolding events of things. Now, the FCT minister called for a media parley today, where there were some select major anchors of most watched television stations, and they had to speak on the current happenings in the political sphere. One of the topic of interest was the state of emergency declared in Rivers State, and they asked for his opinion or what he thought about it. Now, Nyesom Wike said something that for him, he would have preferred for Fubara to have been completely removed. He doesn't like the fact that a state of emergency is declared in Rivers, but that Nigerians should worship the president's feet. They should thank him every morning because he saved them. And even Fubara should also thank the president. Does this not tell you that the aim from the onset, even with the state of emergency declared, was indeed to remove Fubara? And if at all the state of emergency eventually elapses, that Nyesom Wike, along with his allies, especially the defected lawmakers, may continue the impeachment proceeding or have Fubara handcuffed in such a way that he's controlled. How do you react to this?
Yeah, Wike is saying that because he's saying that, and it's so unfortunate that a lawyer, even though it's a lawyer that has never been to court before, so making that kind of statement is treasonable. Because what he's saying, technically speaking, is that it refers to the president would have removed Fubara. Under what law does the president have such power to even suspend him, let alone removing him? It's because the seed of illegality that has been sown has been allowed to grow and fester uncontrollably. So we can now feel that perhaps if they had removed, we remove him under what law? The governor of a state in Nigeria can only be removed by impeachment by National Assembly under Section 188 of the 1999 Constitution. He can never be removed by impeachment, or he resigned by resignation, or by death. Okay? Those are the ways through which a president can vacate office. Okay? Or by a fraction of time when his tenure ends. Okay? So anyone who attempts to remove a governor or says a governor ought to have been removed is committing an offense we call treasonable felony.
But it seems like Wike is standing on a pedestal where anything he wants is granted so long as he is able to deliver for the APC. Because I found it quite I found it deplorable and quite befuddling that Nyesom Wike on national television could literally open his mouth to say that he wanted Fubara removed with no recourse just because of some personal issues that they have against each other politically. Not even withstanding the state it has kept the people of Rivers, notwithstanding the unfortunate situation, especially for civil servants in the state. It's all about personal quest. And then questions being asked like that, and he said it out there, and asking Nigerians to worship the president. You know, that the fact that he has done so well for them that he needs to be worshipped every morning. How do you classify a political space at this point in time that seems to be toxic and less interested in the people they govern?
That is the unfortunate kind of democracy that the president has created for the state. A lethargic, unconstitutional, and demoning system where the president has descended. Nigeria is now a monarchy. With what system of government do you now practice in Rivers State? The president's law. Because what the president did by suspending the governor is outside the constitution. Is what extra-constitutional means that the president deployed, unfortunately, to govern Rivers State. And the people of Rivers State seem to be sleeping. You voted the man in to lead you. The man was doing that, then the president removes him and brings a stranger. And then the stranger is now there acting like a monster. Even to the president, the sole administrator is becoming a Frankenstein. And a 12-man committee has been set up to guide his conduct. Because even some of the people that were responsible for in the appointment as commissioners, they have sacked them. Okay? So the problem in Rivers State is just beginning. And the president has lost control of how to resolve the problem. He's employing illegality to drive that course. And just like Lord Dennis said, that lawyers should ensure that the stream of justice must be kept clean at all times. The moment you veer off law, you need so many illegalities to sustain that illegality. And that is why the sole administrator is acting in ways that now the first his appointment was even wrong. He took an oath under what law to govern that state? Under what law? A non-existent law. Now he's there illegally. He's been delegated by 21 man. That 21 man committee that was set up under what law? Now the state, the National Assembly, he has to be answerable to PEC, and then the National Assembly will now have to determine expenditure in Rivers State. Is that the law? When you are supposed to have a state assembly that should approve expenditure, even when you have a budget. So for the next 6 months, and I pray it doesn't get to 6 months, this man must be removed. That is why a case has been filed in court, so that the court will interpret whether or not it is proper for a president to remove an elected governor and replace him with a stranger who does not have the people's mandate, and then life is supposed to go on, carry on like that. I think it's unfortunate. And I think that because there's no proper reaction that are taking place, a protest, insurrection, or whatever that has taken place.
A protest has taken place. The women in Rivers actually protested. Some youths tried to protest as well, but there were counter protests that were supporting Nyesom Wike, the FCT.
The sponsored counter protest.
So when you have a situation where that collectivity is not there, there is dissonance. How do you think that such a protest will be taken serious?
Yes, the protest can be organic and genuine. The counter protest was a sponsored protest, completely sponsored. And because they know that the people are poor, that if you gather them and give them some money, they will come out and say and come and protest against. Otherwise, who will bear it that you voted an indigent to lead the country, then he's removed by a president and replaced by a stranger? Nobody can bear that. Nobody will go and protest, say the stranger should remain. That tells you that the protest was sponsored. Okay? So they weaponize poverty and take advantage of the people's misery to create an atmosphere of a counter protest, to create a narrative that some persons in the state believe in the removal of Fubara or suspension of Fubara. So when they create that narrative, it will then be that, yes, while you are protesting that the president was wrong, some other person are protesting that the sole administrator is doing the right thing in the state. So they will polarize the system, frustrate the collective, and ensure that they keep Fubara out of his mandate.
All right.
Because Wike is there engineering all the issues.
And finally, Barrister FN's failure as quickly as possible. New details have emerged regarding the sudden and indefinite postponement of the House of Rep planned interactive session with the sole administrator of Rivers State, retired Admiral Ibok Etta Ibas, with indications pointing to a behind-the-scenes struggle between the presidency and the legislature. Well, you know that on the 18th of March, a state of emergency was declared. House of Rep members in its March 20 resolution approved the emergency rule and invoked Section 11 subsection 4 of the 1999 Constitution. Now, in line with this mandate, the Speaker of the House, Tajuddin Abbas, just on Tuesday, inaugurated a 21-member committee, ad hoc committee, chaired by House of Rep member Julius Ihovere to oversee the administrator's activities. Now, before then, the administrator had wanted to present a budget to whom nobody knows. All right? Questions were being asked under whose order or through whose order. So because of that, a statement was raised at the House of Reps and warned him not to overstep his boundary before the 21 ad hoc member committee was set up. Now, barely a day later, just on Wednesday, the committee issued a summons for Ibas to appear before it today, or rather yesterday, to account for his first month in office. But in a surprising development, the House announced an indefinite postponement of the session just 24 hours after the summons were issued. So the question is, what happened in 24 hours? Why did the House of Rep members change their mind to invite Ibas to come and present his activities in the past 1 month in Rivers State as the sole administrator?
What is happening is illegality. It's only them and the president and Wike that know what is happening. Because the unfortunate relationship between the executive and the legislature at the center is part of the problem we have. The legislature have failed to invoke their mandate under Section 88 and 89 of the 1999 Constitution, which empowers them to oversight the executive and ensure that the executive act in line with the Constitution they all took an oath to defend. But when the state of emergency was declared and the proclamation was made and reduced into a gazette and was passed to the National Assembly by law, they had 2 days to determine it, or 10 days they announced it to determine whether it should go or not. They compromised that their authority to see to it that the state of emergency They approved it. They approved it illegally, and the president had his way. Now, the House of Rep, the man who was made the sole administrator is now becoming a Frankenstein. He is becoming an albatross. So they need to tame his powers by setting a 12-member committee. That committee is also an illegal committee because everything is illegal under this administration as far as Rivers State is concerned. They summoned him and then cancelled the summon. Who instructed them to cancel that or they shifted it or whatever it is, they postponed or whatever it is they have done. They are doing all this. That's why I say once you start with illegality, you need to deploy many other illegalities to sustain that first illegality. So, the solution to this problem is for the president to call the warring parties in Rivers State and settle this problem and remove the sole administrator because by law, it's not supposed to be there. Okay?
All right.
Section 305 of the Constitution that empowers the president to make a declaration of state of emergency did not in any way say she remove the governor of the state. And state of emergency is not only tied to political crisis. Where there is war, where there is pestilence and disease, where there is current and present danger, and the rest of that, he has also declared state of emergency. And some people are not considering that it was an outbreak of pestilence or disease in Rivers State. Would the president have removed the governor? That's the question. The state of emergency is curative. The purpose is to quell danger, imminent danger, and the existence of sin, and not to remove the governor.
All right, Barrister Evans Ifeli, thank you so much for taking your time and giving us your insights on the World News at 6.
My
We
pleasure.
sincerely do appreciate.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much. And that's a wrap on the World News at 6. My name is Esther Wachukutu. Kindly stay with us for the evening rush that begins at 7 p.m. Good evening, and thank you for staying with us.